what's inside the house. So that's tells it right there
And
that he hid it.
exactly, because remember what we learned from Achan's sin way back? We talked about Achan, how he saw, he coveted, he took, he hid, right? Same pattern. Remember I said all sin has that pattern? Gehazi sees, he covets, he takes, he hides. Same pattern, right? When you see something and you covet it and you take it and you hide it, pretty good idea that's probably sin. Whatever it is you took. Sin. Yes, Tim?
I hate to take us down a rabbit hole, but this is an example that has concerned me throughout the Old Testament, and that's why does God punish not just the person that sins, but their families? And I know that we all sin, but it seems, I don't know, I don't want to say unfair, but it seems like it's hard for me to understand. It's hard for me to understand why God does that.
I have the same problem with it.
Dana, what was your word?
It's like overkill.
But really, did God do that, or did the sinner do that? There are, as we've been saying all along, there are consequences to our acts. If you think that highly of your family, then think of what you're doing to them. If you're taking a chance, thinking no one will know what you're doing, and you go ahead and do it, and they suffer, who is forcing the suffering on them? God or the instigator?
You got a point, Hank.
Still seems a little unfair to the great-great-great-great-grandson of this guy, you know, who never even met him by decades and maybe hundreds of years. And he's still suffering for what was done so long ago. I get what Tim's saying. It seems unfair.
Look what happened at Passover. If you didn't put sheep's blood on your lentil, your firstborn would be taken. And of course that attended to all the Egyptians also, because they didn't put blood on their lentil.
Then the family may, this occurs.
Quital, say that again.
Yeah, Quital has something to say.
If Gehazi would get on his knees and ask for forgiveness and give everything back to who it belongs to, then the family, it would have an inheritance or some sort. So it wouldn't be, they wouldn't be cursed.
I think that's all true. And Tim, never be worried about rabbit holes. It's what makes Bible study the most interesting to me. So I'm so glad you take us down those rabbit holes. Never be afraid to ask a question. And the tougher the question, the more we're all going to learn. So I love those questions. Let me ask you, when you bring in 75 pounds of silver and robes and other things and put it in your house, is there anybody in your house who wouldn't notice that?
That's a point. That's a good point.
I would think the people, at least the adults in the household, would be aware of the fact that there's something shady going on, because if someone were to bring a block of silver weighing 75 pounds and put it in the middle of my living room, the first question I would ask is, where did this come from and why me?
Exactly. Precisely.
So the family.
Now, I want to bring it to us more today, because most of us don't work for a profit. So here's what I want you to think about for a minute. We were talking about how unfair is it that the family pays the price for the sin. Well, let's talk about instead of them coming in with 75 pounds of silver, you walk into your house and there is a pallet of $5 bills sitting in the middle of your living room. Are there going to be questions? Would you wonder how that pallet of $5 bills ended in your living room? And what drug lord you were living with? Let's say that you don't say anything, but you start spending the money. And your drug lord son, daughter, brother, cousin, whoever brought in the $5 pallet ends up in jail. Who pays the price for that? Or is it the whole family who now, the kids who go to school and get teased about their dad, brother, uncle, whoever being a jailbird? Is it the spouse who now has to figure out how to use a single income to pay for the family expenses? Is it the family that has to decide, am I going to take my children to visit this person in jail or not have relationship for an extended period of time? Who all pays the price for that? It's not just the person who commits the crime. We all think that when we sin, it doesn't have victims other than us, but it's never true. Are you the only one hurt by your sin? Sin is messy and it's sticky and it sticks on everyone around you. You may not always be able to control someone else's sin. In fact, you can't control someone else's sin. But you can repent of your part in anything that happened. That whole, I should have said something when the $5 of pallet shows up. I think what you're trying to say is that generational sin is not because the sin is contagious. Generational sin is because the morals and ethics and heart that we teach our children is important. What we teach our children, our values, are going to change their future. And so that's why we're to teach our children in our rising up and in our lying down and our going out and on our coming in. We're to teach them every step of the way on a path, what it is God would have us do and how to live that way. John?